The 60s and 70s were, of course, pivotal. It was, a lot of civil rights issues, a lot of jobs coming and going. It was a boom time around here until the steel mills closed.
BusinessJournalDaily.com. 3 Minutes With is brought to you by Farmers National Bank.
Save, borrow, and invest with Farmers. Take heart knowing you're helping create a strong community. Mind your money at Farmers. Talk directly to local decision makers about your loans, investments, and insurance. Farmers. Fiercely local, fiercely loyal.
We are celebrating the 150th anniversary of the Historical Society, and we are talking about the 60s and 70s as my section that we're doing today, which works out really well because, of course, TV started in the mid-1950s, so I'm basically doing videos talking about what happened during that era. Ice skating on Lake Newport in Mill Creek Park. Do any of you remember when it was cold enough that you could ice skate on the park? Youngstown University gets its first computer for classroom use. They got an IBM 1620 for instructional use in the computer and engineering classes. This computer was touted for its compactness. Of course, we're going to be featuring, mafia related. We're going to be featuring steel mill related, of course, the two big stories that everybody knows us from. 52-year-old Sandy Naples and his girlfriend Mary Ann Varancich were slain on the front porch of Mary Ann's Caledonia Street home. Naples was out on weekend furlough from prison, serving time for gambling and racketeering. Plus, we're going to get in some Kennedy, Kennedy's arrival to do campaigning, Kennedy's funeral, Martin Luther King's funeral. We're also doing just some fun stories too of servomation, which is a very strange thing, but it was really the cutest darn story about vending machines at the YMCA. This is the new Automat by Servomation. It opened at the downtown YMCA. I'm not sure that this is a microwave that she's using eventually, but I looked it up, and if it is, it may have cost around $500. One of my coworkers up at the museum said that when he was there, when he was younger, probably a few years after this, if you grabbed the handle and jiggled it a lot, you could get soup after soup after soup dropping down at you. Yeah. The 60s and 70s were, of course, pivotal. It was, a lot of civil rights issues, a lot of jobs coming and going. It was a boom time around here until the steel mills closed. And it just kind of made us who we are in that era. I mean, all the other history, of course, did too, but it really, like all across the nation, it made us who we are.
So that we can hear firsthand the needs and concerns of all the people, white and black.
One of the stories that we're doing, of course, like I said, was John F. Kennedy's funeral. 100
years ago, American blood was spilled over a civil rights issue, and a president was killed because of the stand he took on this issue. However, this is the type of thing that they say doesn't happen in America.
In Dallas, Texas, on Friday, November 22nd, 1963, John F. Kennedy was shot and killed. Here in Youngstown, downtown stores closed and remained closed through Monday. A small group gathered at Stambaugh Thompson's store windows downtown to watch the funeral procession on televisions that were on display in the store.
From the mailman to the man who owns the gas station down at the corner, they were unashamedly shedding tears.
The cool thing about what we have here at the Stewart Media Archives and the Mahoning Valley Historical Society is I think we're one of the very few, I would be willing to count on one or two hands, places that have kept their archives from the beginning through the 2000s. That's our section of the archives, and it's a tremendous collection that I think is unparalleled almost across the country. I worked for other stations who did not keep their archives when the material became old and they didn't have the equipment to play it in, they chucked it out. But WKBN didn't. They kept it, and it's just an amazing thing. I think journalism has always been something that influences local perceptions. As a matter of fact, when I worked in TV news many years ago now, one of the things that somebody told me at that time was simply that if we aren't there to show the people what to care about, they don't care. And if you don't go out to, it's messy, you don't go out to an accident, you don't go out to a horrible fire, just recently that the house that blew up from the fireworks, you don't go out to those stories, people don't feel it. It's too cut and dried when it's in the newspaper. Not that the newspapers aren't wonderful and important, but the TVs are, it brings it right immediately to you. That's a good and a bad thing, though, of course. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, but it does bring it home to you. Yes, I thought you'd enjoy that one. Red Barn and Howard Johnson's are in this story. I don't know why they were, what the story was about, but I thought what a perfect memory of that. I hope it brings back a lot of memories. I think it brings back some stuff that they may have forgotten about. So on the east end of Federal Street, where they did all the urban renewal, and none of those buildings there were there back in the 60s. And there's some really nice video of that, stuff that isn't there anymore, that hopefully will spark some memories for some people.
BusinessJournalDaily.com 3 Minutes With is brought to you by Farmers National Bank.
Save, borrow, and invest with Farmers. Take heart knowing you're helping create a strong community. Mind your money at Farmers. Talk directly to local decision makers about your loans, investments, and insurance. Farmers. Fiercely local, fiercely loyal.